When somebody says Korea and Olympics, minds usually turn to sports such as archery or speed skating, or a bunch of poor doves getting obliterated in a cauldron. And if someone says rugby and Asia, before 2015 you'd get mostly blank stares, and after 2015 there's only one nation that people would think of. But that's not the nation I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you why I'm excited for the Korean rugby team at the 2020 Olympics, and why I think you should be excited about it too. Now, whether Japan wants them or not, the Olympics seems set to go ahead on the 23rd of July, and for only the second time, Rugby Sevens is on the calendar. Now, for those who don't know, Rugby Union is a game invented in the United Kingdom played with 15 players on each side. The game is beloved from New Zealand to Madagascar for its combination of complicated tactics, brutal physicality, and moments of absolute beauty. Rugby Sevens, as you could guess from the name, removes all but 7 of these players, but unlike games like football five-a-side, where the pitch is shrunk to compensate, Rugby Sevens keeps the size of the pitch the same. This gives the players a huge amount of space, and transforms the game into a non-stop action fest. If your average rugby game is a marathon, Sevens is the 100 metres. Each half is only 7 minutes long as well, which is lucky for the players because they're pretty much constantly sprinting. The high speed and accessibility of Sevens led to its popularity growing year on year until it won inclusion in the Olympics in 2016. That year, the men's event was won by a fantastic Fijian team, battering a strong Team GB in the final, and the women's medal was won by Australia in a very tight final against New Zealand. So that's the story of Sevens, but where does Korea fit into this? Now, as best as I could find, rugby was probably first played on the Korean peninsula by visiting European sailors. Rugby was becoming more and more popular in Japan from the early 1900s, but this doesn't appear to have been transferred into occupied Korea. Until today, rugby and rugby sevens have remained very minor sports in the Republic of Korea, with only a small number of clubs compared to, say, Japan. Now, this brings us up to 2019 and the qualification tournament for the 2020 Olympics. Japan qualified automatically as the host nation, but Korea would need to win the qualification tournament above both Hong Kong and China, teams that had previously beaten them. Now, they did have the home advantage, with the tournament taking place at the Namdong rugby field in Incheon, but qualification would still be a very tall order, given that their last result was a 5th place finish in the Asian Rugby Series. The Tigers made a superb start to their tournament. They put 3 tries past Afghanistan, and then 44 points past Sri Lanka. This put them into the knockout rounds where they faced Malaysia. After beating Malaysia without too much trouble, they faced China, who would be a much tougher challenge. This was a fantastic game. The first half was an incredibly tense affair, with the Chinese scoring just before half-time and keeping up a huge attack on the Korean try line in the second. The Korean team refused to give up, however, putting in some immense hits and great defence. However, it was looking like China were going to hold on to take the win until...
장성민 있습니다! 장성민 있습니다!
이골의 안정으로 장성민의 센터 쪽에서 드라이브를 찍어냅니다. 장성민 드라이브입니다.
Big Jang Song-min puts Korea across, Andre Coquelin adds the extra 2, and the game is headed into overtime. The first to score is through to the final.
장성민의 힘이 다시 한번 느껴지는 순간 도와줍니다. 럭크. 자,
오픈으로 자, 나가면서
오른쪽으로 방향 선택. 김현수 짧게 장정민 이골의 연호 장정민의 대한민국의 이끄는 역전의 성공.
Korea were now just one win away from their first ever Rugby Sevens Olympics, but facing them in the final would be Hong Kong, a serious challenge. Hong Kong, for those who don't know, is one of the most famous Rugby Sevens countries in the world, with the Hong Kong Sevens being one of the most popular events in the global calendar. Hong Kong, the Asian gold medal holders, at this point in the competition had not even conceded a point. This was going to be a very tall order for Korea, and the game was a brutal, tense affair from the beginning, with Hong Kong getting the first try just under the posts. Korea had to find an equaliser, but Hong Kong held on until the end of the first half. It was looking like the dream of Olympic glory was slipping away.
김현수 연결. 장성민이 중앙 쪽으로. 장정민 짧게
됐어요!
뚫어냈습니다.
가야 돼요!
대한민국 박완효 이골의 향해서 결국에는 대한민국이 또 하나의 트라이를 만들어내면서 동점을 만들 수 있는 순간이 찾아옵니다.
Hong Kong spent the next 2 minutes desperately trying to regain the lead, but the Korean defence did not let them through, holding on until sudden death. The next team to score would go to Tokyo. In extra time, Hong Kong came heart-stoppingly close to scoring multiple times, until this massive penalty won by Kim Yeon-soo, giving the Korean team possession. What did they do with that possession?
할 수 있습니다. 대한민국 선수들 자리어 받았습니다. 장정민 짧게 패스 여기서 뚫어냅니다. 김남우 올라옵니다. 그리고 중앙쪽 패스
됐어요. 오픈이에요.
오른쪽으로 자 김현수 패스를 이어나가는 대한민국 선수들 오른쪽으로 연결했습니다. 정용우
자, 장현식이에요. 장현식이에요. 대한민국이 장영웅의 주아이로 이제 대한민국은 2020 도쿄올림픽으로 향합니다. 주아이가 올림픽 갑니다. 대한민국 2020 도쿄올림픽 남자 럭비 드디어 진출을 성공합니다.
In 2019, a year full of incredible rugby moments, this has to be my favourite. Korea had qualified for their first ever Olympic Sevens. What a performance and what a team. So this summer, Park Hwan-young, Jang Jong-min and friends will be competing with the finest rugby teams from across the world in the Olympics, and I personally cannot wait. These are the dates of the pool matches, and I strongly recommend watching as much as you can. I hope this video has shown you what a dramatic and exciting game Rugby Sevens can be. Now, Korea have a very tough group indeed, facing New Zealand, Australia and Argentina, but hopefully this tournament will help build a foundation for the team to go on to future successes. If you're in Korea and you like the look of rugby, see if there's a local club around you. It's a fantastic sport and the number of clubs in the country is growing year on year. Thanks for watching this video. It's not very similar to my other videos, but I love the Olympics and I love rugby, and this was such a great story I felt like I had to tell it. I hope everyone's been doing well and keeping safe over these insane last couple of years. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.